Hi, this is Sneha from College Pond. I'm an ETS certified TOEFL trainer, and in this part of the video lecture series, I'm going to give you an overview of TOEFL, or the test of English as a foreign language. Let's start to understand what exactly TOEFL is all about. TOEFL, or Test of English as a Foreign Language, is exactly what the name suggests. As you can see on the slide, it is an examination that tests the English language abilities of non-native speakers of English. It is conducted by ETS, or Educational Testing Services, and it happens for more than 50 times a year. Where can you give this test? Well, there are many centers across the world, and you can look at Prometric centers or Certified Test Administration sites, which are also known as the CTAS. Finally, I would always recommend that you go for the TOEFL IBT test. It's a very popular version. Let's try and understand the format of TOEFL. As you can see on the screen, unlike GRE, TOEFL is not an adaptive test. What does this mean? It means that the level of difficulty will not change with every passing section. It will remain a standard. Every test taker receives items that cover the full range of ability, which means that all of the test takers would be tested on their abilities to speak, read, write, and listen to an audio. So it's going to be uniform across all the skills. Instructions for answering questions are given with each section. What this means is you're not going to get a separate tutorial for how to answer or how to mark the questions before the actual test. You will get those instructions before the beginning of every section. My suggestion would be to take notes, scribble whenever possible. These notes will be essentially very helpful to you, especially when it comes to the audio or the listening section, right? You will receive paper sheets from ETS. Those will be limited, but of course you have to use them wisely. Those will help you to organize your thoughts, especially when you are going through the speaking sections. For speaking section, test takers wear noise cancelling headphones. That's useful. You may find that when you are doing your listening sections, someone else sitting next to you might be on their speaking section. So it makes sense to, take advantage of the noise cancelling headphones. For the writing section, test takers must type their responses, which is then sent to ETS's online scoring network. This means that you need to be very good at typing. If you regularly make mistakes or if you have typos in your writing, it may affect your scoring. So please make sure you practice your typing. Also, human raters are available for checking your speaking and writing responses. They are trained and certified by ETS. Writing and speaking, these are the sections where actually you do require some kind of an human intervention when it comes to checking your answers. They're not really the objective answers wherein you mark into an OMR sheet. So that's where ETS will give you these human raters. Finally, all your scores, section-wise and the overall score, is reported both online and via email within just a fortnight. Make sure you time your test properly so that you can get all your scores before your application deadline. What should you do on test day? We advise students to always try and reach the center at least an hour before the time. Sometimes they take students early, and that's going to be a plus for you. Do not forget to carry a passport. If you do not carry a passport, please understand that they will not allow you to give the test. That's an important identification document for you. Before the test happens, try and relax a little bit. It's a tedious examination, so you don't want to tire yourself out by unnecessarily worrying too much about it. These centers are usually very chilled, so always carry a jacket or something to cover yourself up, otherwise you will fall sick. Also try and stay hydrated, drink lots of water a day prior to your examination as well as on the test day. especially in the speaking sections or even during the listening sections where you are using all your senses. It's important to keep yourself hydrated so that you can stay alert and focused. After your reading and listening section, you will get a small break of 10 minutes, right? You can actually move about and go outside the room as well if you want to, for a washroom break or anything that you would want to. I would suggest that you don't use this as a washroom break though. I have seen that when students just use that break as a relaxation, just to close your eyes and meditate, that's a much more useful breather, because the sections that will come after this, these two sections, reading and listening, they will inadvertently be a little more taxing. So it's better to just calm yourself and take a very relaxed approach in this particular break. A lot of students ask us whether I should take the TOEFL or the IELTS. Well, there's no right or wrong answer to this really. It's completely up to you. But before you take that decision, just consider these points. TOEFL does not have a paper-based version, whereas IELTS has that. So what that means is, if you are someone who is more comfortable writing on a piece of paper rather than typing, then IELTS is the examination for you. Similarly, if you're someone for whom, if it's easier for you to kind of speak to a person actually rather than speaking into a computer, then again IELTS is the right examination for you. IELTS is conducted by British Council or the IDP, whereas TOEFL is conducted by the ETS. What you also need to remember is that the skills that are covered in these two examinations are exactly the same. They're reading, listening, speaking and writing in English. But the format is completely different. So if you've studied for the TOEFL, that is not going to help you in case you decide to take the IELTS later. So be careful before you make that decision. Another thing that you might want to consider is that IELTS is more preferable if you are looking to apply to countries like Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, just to name a few. But if you're looking at applying to US-based universities, then TOEFL would be the right option really for you. Again, before you take any kind of a decision, it's always better to speak to your career counselor and streamline the whole process. When should you give the examination? Well, there is no right or wrong answer to this, but please keep in mind that the scores are going to be valid for only 2 years. So don't take this test way too early as well. The right time really would be to somewhere time it as per your decisions of the university. Whenever you decide to apply to a particular university, it would be a good time to check whether that university accepts TOEFL or not, and then prepare for this examination for a month and then give the examination. Speak to your career counselor before you take any kind of a decision, because this is a very important thing. Let's now move on to understanding the format of the examination in more depth. As you see on your screen, there are 4 sections: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. Your reading section will always be the first section on your test. There is no jumbling up of these sections. It will always appear in this particular order only. So you will get around 54 to 72 minutes on your test. Now you'll ask me, why is there a difference? Why would someone get a 54 and why would someone else get a 72 minutes section? The answer to that lies in the content of the examination. You may get around 3 to 4 passages, which means that if you get a section which has 3 passages, your timing for that section would be 54 minutes. And if you get a section which has 4 passages, then your timing for that section would be 72 minutes. You will score 30 points, and that's equal across the board for all sections. You will get a 30 points irrespective of how many passages you have. You will always have around 10 questions per passage. So make sure you read the passages and then respond to the questions. You will get proper timing to do all this within this time frame that you see here. Moving on to the listening section, the time limit that you will get for this particular section is around 41 to 57 minutes. This point again has 30 points, which is equal across the boards. When it comes to content, you will get 5 to 7 audio files. So what essentially happens is if you get 5 audio passages or files as we call them, then you will get around 41 minutes. But if you get a section which has around 7 audio files, then you will get 57 minutes to complete them. Please remember that you will have around 5 to 6 questions per audio. What you will need to essentially do is listen to the audio file and answer those questions immediately and only then move on, because you will never be able to listen to the file again. You can only listen to them once. Only some parts of those files will be played again for you when it comes to answering particular questions. And what type of topics will you get? You will mostly get lectures and conversations, but please remember that they will be always related to academic domains or something like a conversation that happens on a day-to-day basis inside a university. After listening section, you will get a 10 minutes break, and this is something that you will have to use very wisely, because if you do not use this to relax, then you will struggle in the next session. Now, when it comes to speaking, you will see that this is the shortest section on your test. So you will get around 17 minutes. You'll feel like this time's just flown by you. This section also has 30 points, so that doesn't change. You will have 4 tasks. The first one will be called the independent task, and the next 3 will be called the integrated tasks. What's the difference? Why the change of name, you may ask? The first task is actually something where you won't require to combine your skills. So this independent task is only checking you purely for your speaking skills, whereas the integrated tasks are checking you for a variety of skills. For example, you'll be reading something, then you will be listening to an audio file, and then you will be speaking and giving your response. So it's actually combining these tasks. That's the only difference. What you'll be required to do though is you'll have to be speaking into a microphone, and the topics that you will listen to will be quite familiar. You will not struggle with understanding the topics as such. They will be everyday topics, something that you will come across on a regular basis in a university environment. So don't worry too much about this. This is not going to be very complicated. You have to speak naturally and normally about the topics that you will encounter. Finally, the writing section is going to last for around 60 minutes. This section will also give you 30 points, but you will see that this has the least number of tasks. You will just have 2 tasks, one of them the independent and one is the integrated task. The logic in the naming is the same. Independent task will test you only for your writing skills, and the integrated task will test you with a combination of writing plus your reading and your listening skills. So that's the only difference again here. What you will be required to do in this particular section is write essays. So this independent and integrated task, both of them will be essays based on certain familiar topics. And how to write those essays, the format, etc. will be covering in detail in the section-wise videos that we'll be doing. So that's about the TOEFL overall, overview of the sections that you would want to understand. So as we saw just now, TOEFL is an examination that gives you the opportunity to score as much as 120 points. This is the overall score with 30 points in each section. A lot of students would ask us normally, how much do I need to score? What should be my ideal score? To this, I would say that there is really no good or a bad score as such. It depends on what your motivation is and how well you can use your language. Why do you need this score? If you're looking to apply to some universities, please understand that there is a huge range here. Some universities would be okay with, say, an 80 score overall, and some universities would require as high as 110 on 120. So it really depends on what program you're applying to. So don't worry if you get a certain score. There is nothing good or bad as such. Again, please remember that if you cross 100 score, you will be through for most of the universities. So you don't really have to worry about it. Look at what universities you're targeting and work accordingly. Remember, the more you get, the better it is for you. Also remember that some universities will have a section-wise cutoff for your scores. So let's try and understand what proficiencies are they expecting when they say that they want a particular score in a section. When it comes to the reading and listening sections, the level of your scores or the proficiencies is quite similar. So if you score say a 0 to 14, you will be considered as a low score. If you're looking at a score which is between 15 to 21, it would be an intermediate level score. It would be, acceptable for a lot of universities. So you really need to check whether that is the case for you. Some universities will specifically mention that they need between 20 to 30, which is in both reading and listening. So if that is the case, then they are looking for a really high reading score and they are looking for someone who can read really well. When it comes to speaking, you would see that they express the level of proficiencies in a slightly different manner. So if you score anywhere between 0 to 9 points, which is a little difficult, frankly, you will be considered a weak person at speaking. If you get anywhere between 10 to 17 points, your proficiency will be considered limited. It's not weak, but it's limited in certain terms like vocabulary or range of grammar, etc. 18 to 25 is the kind of score that would be okay with a lot of universities. So that's a fair level of score. And a good score would be 26 to 30, which is a very high score to achieve and would basically be required by some of the top universities. Finally, when it comes to the writing section, you will see that there are 3 ways in which your proficiencies will be explained. You either have limited or a fair amount of proficiency or a good level of proficiency. The marking would be around 1 to 16 points for the limited proficiency level, 17 to 23 for the fair level, and 24 to 30, which is for the good level. Please understand that these writing proficiencies do not in any way explain how good you actually are, right? This is just for the understanding that the university would need about your proficiency.